Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for riding.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Maloney's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1075, May 10th, 2023. 90 degrees on this day in 1987. And 28 degrees on this day in 1907. And I wouldn't have been a bit surprised if kids were swimming on this day in 1987 if their parents were smart and took care of the beach and got rid of the weeds and algae by using Aquacide products. A White Bear Lake company, Aquacide, has been keeping beaches clean and pristine for more than 60 years. The products are easy to use. They work quickly. They're registered with both the EPA and DNR, and their products are completely safe for you and your family and the fish. Don't let weeds overtake your lake or pond this summer. Call Aquacide today. Describe to them what you're looking at. I want to get rid of this stuff.
Yep, let's go.
What's it look like? Well, here it is. I'll take a picture of it and send it to you. They'll help you identify your weed problem and make sure your place looks great all summer long. Call Aquacide at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquacide.com.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Heidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your Flashlight King, Fireworks Commissioner, and the Keeper of Common Sense, your Mayor, Joe Soucheray.
You'll recall on Monday when we were on the, what was the date Monday?
That would have been the 8th.
We were done with ice outs.
Yes, because Friday was the last one.
Right, but I remember I got the email from Tim Werner, who finds a statistical pattern that would indicate warming.
Yep.
And it was very well done, and now he's got part 2.
Okay.
Joe, it seems that my first letter was less than clear. Let me try to do better with the sequel. I have always interpreted your daily readings of temperature records, ice out dates, and lilac bloom dates as sending the following messages. 1, nature is random. I would agree that that is a message I'm sending. High and low records are as likely to have been from 100 years ago as they are to have been from last year, and no trends are obvious in the daily granular readings. These are messages he thinks I'm trying to send. Okay. I agree with him so far. The climate is always changing. I agree. Even if patterns exist in the data, this is only natural, has always occurred and always will. Yes, that is a message I believe in. Number 3, man is not bigger than nature. He has not caused climate change and cannot change climate trends. And climate change as a political topic is used by shysters and charlatans as a means to redistribute wealth among citizens and nations. Yes, I do think that. That's what I think. We are not bigger than nature. Can you go out in your backyard and make a snowflake?
No.
I don't think so. Fair enough, he notes. But here are my thoughts addressing your 3 points above.
Okay. Fact-based, though, you can at Buck Hill.
Yeah. Number 1, the articles I sent you on Monday showed that there are indeed patterns in the data, even though that is not obvious when you're just reading one-off daily ice out dates or lilac bloom dates. Temperatures are warming. We have shorter lake ice cover periods, and lilacs are blooming earlier and earlier over the last 50 years.
Can you attest to that?
That's not been my experience, but okay, I accept that. Number 2, the climate is definitely changing. It's warming and causing the ice cover and lilac bloom changes. I agree with you that the climate is always changing. And finally, he notes, is the climate changing because the climate is always changing, or is it related to man-made developments? I don't know, he writes, and neither do you. Okay. And he said, I wish you would admit that. Okay, I don't have trouble admitting that.
Well, that
a little trouble.
No, that flies in the face of everything
I
you've
do
said.
have. Well, no, I do have trouble. I was trying to be appeasing there. I do have trouble admitting it because I just don't think my minuscule presence on Earth means anything to nature. It means nothing.
Well, the answer to his question is A, not B. You think the climate has always changed, and it doesn't.
No. He believes that. He believes that. I'll reread number 3.
Oh.
Is the climate changing because the climate is always changing, or is it related to man-made developments? I don't know, and neither do you. Oh, I do know. I'm sorry. I'm not going to admit that. What I would suggest, Tim, is that the climate has always changed without your man-made developments, or else you would be living on an ice floe right now. Go take a look at the Mississippi River Gorge between the two cities. How do you think that happened? We weren't driving SUVs then. In fact, you could make the argument we're still coming out of an ice age. I do agree with you that the political... Okay. I called you incurious in my previous letter, and that seemed to bother you. It's striking to me that someone who is as intellectually curious as you on other topics seems to be intractable on this one. What gives you the complete certainty that you have, and why won't you entertain other points of view? Why do I even care? I just wish you'd take a more open-minded and more knowledge-seeking approach to this topic with your audience. It's important, and they deserve that. As always, good luck, Tim. Thank you, Tim. I remain convinced that the push to Marxism and socialism has tried every possible outlet, and the environment is their last stand.
Okay.
Beyond that, where would they go? Where would you go to change behavior? You're at the end of you're in a box canyon with environment. There's no other place to go. And I believe that I just don't believe. How could you not believe, Tim, that the climate has always changed? It always has. Look, okay, now to follow up, and I think Tim does good work, and I think he wants me to be more open-minded. I've often said, you give me a week of 80s in January, I'm going to become open-minded. I'll change my tune.
But that doesn't happen because nature is nature.
I'm still hung up on what's Tim's argument.
He wants me to acknowledge that I can't be certain that man is not causing the climate change he believes is happening.
Okay, but again, if you were to jump or take that stance, that flies in the face of everything you've stood for.
That's why I backed off at taking that stance.
Your years of preaching here in the University of Garage Logic.
I remain a denier.
Okay.
Now, Steve Albers weighs in with 3 different data analysis and conclusions of Lake Minnetonka ice out dates. I'm sorry if people find this putting them to sleep. I love this. Joe, as a follow-up to your May 8th podcast where statistical analysis of ice out dates was discussed, I decided to do my own statistical analysis, and I have created 3 different statistical analyses and interpretations of the Lake Minnetonka ice out dates, all which reinforce your claim that statistics can be used to tell many different stories. Attached is a document that details the various analysis and conclusion reached for each analysis method. And then, see, I'll hold this up. Mm-hmm. He's got charts. He did his own deal there. And he said... let's see. During your May 8th podcast, a listener took you to task concerning the trending of ice out dates. This perked my interest, so I downloaded Lake Minnetonka ice out dates since 1855 and did some statistical analysis of my own. This data set of my own.
It was a big night for him, huh?
Time on your hands, huh? Okay.
Yeah, but this is why GLers are cool. They do this stuff. And not, you're painting your wife's toenails. What are you talking about?
That's a good point.
We were watching Game Master Night on, it was Jeopardy with Ken Jennings, right after Steve Harvey court special.
Joe, during your May 8th podcast, a listener took you to task concerning trending ice out dates. This perked my interest, so I downloaded Lake Minnetonka ice out dates since 1855 and did some statistical analysis of my own with this data set, and it turns out it is a good example of how statistics can be manipulated to tell a variety of stories. This is true for ice out dates since the year-after-year dates vary significantly, and this is called large statistical noise. So a statistician would use statistical filter and partitioning techniques to look for trends in the data. Below are 3 looks at the ice out dates with each chart telling a different story. Below is the takeaway from the different looks at the data. Number 1 chart, this was ice dates vary year after year with typical ice out date of April 10th, but can vary between March 21 to May 1. Not sensing any trending, but not surprised if there was trending since climate is always changing. On this chart, he writes, Joe's look. Year after year, a lot of variation in ice out dates, not sensing anything changing, but not surprised if there was some change since the climate's always changing. Right. Okay. Tim's look. Over the past 50 years, ice out dates have been trending due to climate change and are 1 week shorter. This would be true if you use regression analysis after 1950. But reporting of ice out dates changed between 1949 and 1950, which creates trending look to the data. Number 3, my best look. I see 4 distinct steps or shifts in ice out dates and no real trending. The steps occurred in 1950, 1967, and 1979. I believe the likely reason for the shifts or steps in ice out dates is due to a change in method or person calling the ice out date. Bottom line, statistics can be used to tell a variety of stories, and ice out dates are a good example of this. All right.
Right.
And then he goes through then he offers the steps. 1950, my look. Well, okay. It's fun, and I appreciate both these guys, and I'm clinging to my original take on this. Had nothing very scientifically deep involved.
Got it.
Mine was to say, holy mackerel, look at
that.
this. Ice went out of Minnetonka on May 5th, 1857. And it went out May 5th, 2018.
2 emails related to this topic via the Garage Logic Town Council. First, from the Garage Logic's own Stacy, the geologist.
Well, our geologist.
Earth, or per your statement about Ice Age, Earth is always on the move, constantly, if slowing, changing. Temperatures rise and fall in cycles over millions of years. The last ice age occurred just 16,000 years ago when great sheets of ice, 2 miles thick, covered much of Earth's northern hemisphere.
Lake Superior's 10,000 years old.
Though the ice melted long ago, the land once under and around the ice is still rising and falling in reaction to its ice age burden. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah. The other one comes to us from Todd, and I'm confused about this, so I need help. Ice out dates, subject line. Why did the study only use dates starting in 1973 if there is 150 years of data? Why do we only use 50?
I think he chose, he found that he was able to statistically demonstrate that since 1973, the ice out dates have been coming earlier.
Got it.
And I don't even find that.
Okay.
But I'm a moron.
Sometimes it can be tough.
But here's what I hope everyone would agree on. I'll address this to Tim, but I'm addressing it to everybody as well. If the climate is changing, and if man is responsible for it, it's really going to take a long time.
Sure.
You driving you driving your car to work might be 10,000 years away from having any meaningful impact on the climate. And what do I base that on? Ice out dates. If the climate's been changing, why in 1857 did Minnetonka go out on May 5?
Right.
And why did Minnetonka go out on May 5 in 2018?
But the one piece that was kind of interesting is the way we categorize an actual ice out may have changed. That's kind of interesting. The last piece that you read in that email.
And I'm puzzled by that. I don't know what that meant. Ice out is defined now by being able to go unfettered between bays, bay to bay.
And we haven't always done it that way?
I don't know. Is that new? I don't know.
Is that an LD question?
Could be.
Okay.
Could be.
We haven't checked in.
No, we need a
stuff.
spring update coming one of these days from LD.
All right.
Okay, I don't want to be angry. I don't want to argue with GLers. GLers are competent people, and they're doing their work. And there's a number of GLers who are strong GLers, not just Tim. There are a number of them who really have trouble with me on this. They are people who do believe mankind is in at least partly responsible for what they see as climate change.
Sure.
I guess that says
Meaning what?
Meaning
Your mic's off, bro.
what now?
Meaning what?
Meaning what? There are GLers
What
who
has changed? What has man changed? They see things that man has changed.
Well, I was just going to say, and I don't. That's the problem. I can find you the sense whens for everything. I don't see the change. And apparently there are GLers who can and do, and they have trouble with the fact that I don't.
I can't think of any. That's why I asked you.
And I'm basing my I don't on a real slim sample. I'm the first to admit that. 150 years. That's my sample base. 1857 till now.
And if anybody's paying attention, 150 years ain't what it used to
It
be.
sure isn't. Just seems like yesterday. Leave it to Kelsey to remember this. You'll recall that Monday, boy, we're hearkening back to Monday's show quite a bit. You'll recall Monday that one of this days in history noted that an Irish fellow recruited a number of Irish people to move to Curry, Minnesota,
Yeah.
to farm. And I think Kelsey's right. He says, wasn't Curry where your relative was the postmaster? My relative, I think he's referring to the fellow who would have been my great-grandfather. And I think he was the postmaster in Curie.
Really?
And Kelsey I seem to remember this, and that you and Patrick were potentially related because your relative, meaning my great-grandfather, and Pat's mom potentially had an affair when the men from the area were away at war.
Wow.
No, because Pat's mom would not have been around if we're dealing with my great-grandfather. This would have been all pre-war stuff.
Could it have been Royce's grandmother?
We don't know, but Pat and I are not related.
Right. Cuz, what's up, cuz?
As far as you know.
As far as we know, we're not related.
Hey, cousin. I got a really
Can of apricots.
We're going to go to the picnic table and have some potato salad.
Curry, though. Curry does ring a bell. But see, I didn't think Curry existed, and that's why I said to Pat, is Curry still there? And he said yes.
It's right on. I'm looking at it. It's just north of Slayton on Highway 30.
You know what? I have to make a pilgrimage.
Yeah, of course you do.
That part of the state's neat. I
Why
like
do
that.
you think I like to play office? When I say I play office, it means, why do you think I like to play post office?
Wait a minute.
Stamps.
It's in my genetic makeup.
Time out.
Sure.
You're going to make a pilgrimage.
Yep.
We have been begging you to go to this car show. That's an hour from your house.
Well, maybe I can do it, make my my Murray County pilgrimage on a Tuesday.
There is
and on the way back, swing through the car show at Henderson.
zero chance you're going to drive 3 hours.
That's not that far, is it?
Oh, yeah.
To Curry?
Well, it's just
How
north
close
of,
to the Iowa border?
It's almost to the South Dakota border.
it's there.
south of
Yeah.
Marshall.
It's over in that southwest
It's
corner.
way
Right.
southwest.
Yeah. You can do it.
You
can
couldn't
there.
get there in 3 hours from your house.
Well, maybe I'll have to make it a one-nighter.
Or a weekend. Then they wouldn't have a car show.
We're going to return, John, to yesterday's discussion.
Okay.
The discussion had evolved into the differences between the Democrats and Republicans in this state. We're going to continue to keep it to this state, although I bet you could extract much of this and go to the cities closest to the country's tallest buildings and find the same things happening. And Downing wants me to know that independent Republicans, they dropped the independent part in 1995. Is that close enough, he wonders? Yeah, close enough.
Well,
He said that to
it's
me, too.
vicinity.
They're not independent Republicans anymore. I guess they're just Republicans. Tom Wilson. One other big reason the Republicans are behind the times, that would be that they insist on clinging to that old-fashioned idea that there is such a thing as right and wrong. The Democrats, by and large, have abandoned that notion and so have many more tools in their toolbox. I want to come back to that. Because yesterday we talked about hardware. Today I want to talk about ideology. Joe writes, I think he hit the nail on the head when it comes to how the current political parties are operating and why the Mysterians are winning. Now expand that to the electorate. This quote from Alexander Tytler in the 1700s sums up the problem. I'm afraid we've reached the tipping point. The quote is, it's a very famous one, democracy cannot exist as a permanent form of government. It can only exist until the people discover they can vote themselves largesse out of the public treasury. From that moment on, the majority also always votes for the candidate promising the most benefits from the public treasury, with the result that democracy always collapses over a loose fiscal policy to be followed by a dictatorship. And then he notes, Republicans just don't have enough to offer for those looking to the government in every facet of their life. Oof. And that's true, and the Mysterians know that. I hope you're not facing tough times in your life with the death of a loved one. I know there's been notable deaths of loved ones in the Twin Cities lately. These are difficult times. I hope you consider counseling with the people at Mueller Memorial. It's family-owned. They've been serving families for more than 75 years with 3 generations of Muellers. I've known them all my life. They've been neighbors. I know Scott Mueller, currently the man in charge. I know him very well. Mueller takes care of the difficult details. They'll create the event that honors your loved one to celebrate a life well lived. They get rid of the anxious and the frightening aspects of this. This is not fun, but you can learn more what's involved. And when you do learn more what's involved, you understand that it does not have to be overwhelming and frightening. Scott's written a book, What to Know Before You Go. It's free. If you go to the MuellerMemorial.com/GL, you can see if one is still available. The book answers all the questions you might have about planning a funeral. I would not hesitate 1 second to get a hold of the people at Mueller Memorial. MuellerMemorial.com/GL.
Tri-State Bobcat in Burnsville, Little Canada, and Hudson has the best sale prices of the year on a couple of amazing Toro snowblowers. The big spring sale is on the Toro single-stage Power Clear snowblower and the Power Max two-stage snowblower, and you won't find a better deal than right now. And whether you opt for the single-stage Power Clear or the two-stage Power Max, you'll look forward to the next snowfall with these amazing Toro snowblowers. Tri-State Bobcat is in Burnsville, Little Canada, and Hudson, and on the web, tristatebobcat.com.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
It was a sad day last night.
What happened?
Got home after baseball, got in the garage.
Uh-oh.
The mosquitoes were already out.
Oh.
Hard day's night?
So
What are you going to do about that?
GLers, it's officially mosquito season, and if you're getting eaten up in your yard, call my friends at Mosquito Shield. Owned and operated by GLers, a couple of great guys. It's Ray and Mike, and they are a father and son team that own and operate 2 franchises right here in the Twin Cities, and they will take care of you and your family. Here's their territory. It runs east of 169 and 35W all the way to the St. Croix, north to Forest Lake, and then south to Lakeville. So give them a call. They'll be able to take care of you.
What's the western border? 169?
169.
Right.
Yep. So here's the deal. Go online, moshield.com. That's the website, moshield.com. moShield.com. Just enter your zip code, and you're going to be able to
Is there
find
a dash?
them. No dash, Joe. Just moShield.com. Or give Kelsey and Mike a call today at 612-619-1556. I have used Mosquito Shield for years, and it makes an amazing difference in the summertime. So 612-619-1556 or online at moShield.com. Mention Garage Logic, and you get $50 off your service, Joe.
Continuing with the difference between the Minnesota Democrats and the Minnesota Republicans, and I think it's important because if we can really nail down the differences, we can begin to maybe help fix it. Maria writes, I'm writing in response to your discussion with John regarding Democrats wanting youngsters to vote. I've long contended that Democrats are the fun parent, saying yes to whatever the kids want. Consequences be damned. Don't want to pay your loans back? You got it. Free health care? Coming right up. Additionally, their messages fit right in with social media. Quick statements that don't have to be backed up with facts, explanations, or lessons on how government works. Why don't the Republicans fight back? Because they can't hold the young voters' attention for more than 30 seconds. It takes time to explain the economy or to explore history and recount the lessons we've learned from failed socialist policies. These kids are not digging into the world of politics, government, and economics, and they certainly aren't learning it in school anymore. I don't know what the answer is, but there has to be some brilliant, young, right-minded thinkers out there that can lead us in a new direction. I do believe podcasts are helping, but Republicans have to figure out how to use social media to their benefit. The Democrats have it mastered. Have a great day, Maria.
Okay.
I want to go through
Nice
these.
job, Maria.
I absolutely love the good cop, bad cop analogy because it's spot on.
Do you recall, we've had him on the air. I know Rookie will because he's brilliant at names. You recall Dennis Dunnigan?
Dennis Dunnigan.
He was running for a Ramsey County seat. We had him on the air. He was relative of a gas station guy I knew in Highland. Remember that came up
Yes.
when we were talking to him?
Yes.
Dennis Dunnigan. Hail the Flashlight King.
Hail you.
Here's my take. The Democrats have teachers, union members, government employees at all levels, government-dependent poor people, the elderly, the working poor, college students, and anyone else who relies on the government as an army of volunteer contributors that want things from the government. For a small donation, some time invested in their vote, they get stuff. The Democrats are the party of the public sector and those whose living comes from the public budget. The Republicans are the party of the private sector. We don't want anything from the government. We have jobs in the private sector. The government does little for us, and that's the way we want it. We are the people who grudgingly pay for what the government is doing to all of us. Conservative people actually resent the fact that we have to spend any time and or effort monitoring or being involved with the government. We have jobs, families, lake homes, picnics, and social activities to keep us busy. Our lives are not dependent on the government's benevolence and aid. We want to be left alone to work and live with as little government help or interference as possible. And no wonder this guy lost, huh?
Right.
The Democrat candidate knocks on doors and offers many people a whole lot of stuff that they're going to make other people pay for. At one point in the show, you summed up my take pretty well. The left was at the Capitol protesting while the Republicans were at work. We've talked on your show before. I'm the fellow who ran for the Ramsey County Commissioner seat a few times. I took the Garage Logic grilling and received the GL endorsement. The last time we talked, you asked me if I'd run again. I can tell you what's going on in this country makes it difficult to stand down and go to the lake, even at my age. I have children and grandchildren. I hate to think the left is going to succeed in denying them a shot at the happy existence I've had in this country. I'm praying that someone with values I can support steps up and runs in my Ramsey County district next time around. Kind regards, Dennis Dugan.
Way to go, Dennis. Maybe someday you'll get in.
Philip writes, you and John recognize two consequential elements of the automatic voter registration bill. For the DFL, this is simply a recruitment bill. John asked why you have cause to believe that new voters who would otherwise have registered or voted could be expected to vote blue. According to one exit poll, Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, 71% of women and 53% of men ages 18 to 29 voted blue, while only 26% of women and 42% of men of the same age voted red in the 2022 midterms. Gallup and Pew show similar data. We, of course, do not know for certain that all of those who did not vote and will vote in the future as a result of the bill will vote in the same pattern. That may be John's point, but the data carries such a substantial margin in favor of the DFL, and the burden of proof has been met to suggest that it likely will be a benefit to the DFL rather than the Republican Party. More significantly, the DFL sees even more of the data than we do. Does John truly believe that the reason the DFL pushed this bill was not motivated by vote getting? Even if the DFL turns out worse because of this bill, there can be little doubt that was the recruitment effort. Number 2, John wants everyone to vote. Great. In a democracy, every adult may have the right to vote, but not the right to vote on his or her terms. These vote manipulating bills attempt to reduce the sacrifice of voting to nil. We make the most calculated decisions about things which have a cost, no matter how little. If voting matters to you, it matters enough to march up to the Secretary of State and fill out a form to register. Well, let me stop right there. You don't even have to do that. You can register at a polling place. If it matters, you will be willing to stand in line or look up to even meet the candidates. The same applies in the reverse. If you have to spend your time to vote and to register, it becomes something more important. If you are going to have to stand in line, you might as well decide it's worth knowing which candidate you prefer. You might be less willing to stand in line to vote if you're only doing so because a friend recommends Mr. Smith. Cost, no matter how small, is fundamentally important to democratic voting. The DFL would eliminate all cost and thereby eliminate all meaning. The same DFL principle goes for economics and gender fluidity. The party would have you believe you can have money for nothing and chicks for free. God, he snuck a good Dire Straits line in there, didn't he? The party would have you believe you can have money for nothing and become chicks for free. And they would have you partake in shaping society by the meaningless whim of a populace who can't even stand in line to say what they believe. Good luck, Philip Horsager. That's a wonderful note.
I disagree with parts of that, obviously, especially the expression sacrifice of voting.
Yeah.
Voting, you don't have to make sacrifices to vote. That's not how we're set up. It's not how we should be set up.
Well, I suppose you could consider it on a snowstorm voting day in November. It might constitute a bit of a sacrifice to get to the polls. You know,
sure, you might make that sacrifice, but I don't think that is
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just going to say, the whole notion, though, of pre-registering, I only find a flaw in it because it takes, 5-10 extra seconds to register if you aren't already
you can
registered?
register there, yeah.
You can register at the polls.
Right, that's what I'm saying, and it takes an additional 5 to 10 seconds to register. That's why I find a little bit of flaw.
It's further corroboration of my belief that this is merely a recruitment tool.
Recruitment
effort.
I have no argument, as I said yesterday. I fully believe 80% of young people are going to vote Democratic. But if they want to go vote and vote Democratic, you got to let them.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever denied that.
Well, I don't think making it hard to vote is,
I can't accept that. Again,
okay.
I must ask you, how easy do you want it to be?
As easy as it possibly can. We said this yesterday. As easy, I said it.
Well, that's probably not as easy it could potentially be, even with this. So how easy do you want it to be?
I don't think you should, sit at home and hit your computer. Let's put it that way.
No.
Well, no. Why? That would really be easy.
It would really be easy, but that would be rife with
problems
for,
Weren't we all on the same page?
Plus, I don't know why you're so concerned about you want 100% of eligible voters to vote. No, you're encouraging too many idiots to vote. They don't give a bleep.
Joe, there are people that think you're an idiot or I'm an idiot.
Yeah, they're wrong.
Should they say the same thing then? Well, if Souchere can't vote, Heidt can't vote, they're idiots.
I think those people have decent points.
Yeah, I suppose. Well,
aren't we all
half of it?
Right. Aren't we all on the same page, though, when we said this a few years ago, that make voting day a federal holiday? Everyone should have the day off from work. Make it a federal holiday. That way, work, you're either compensated for your time off or what have you. So that way, nothing gets in the way of you being able to vote. And the only absentee ballots should be for those that maybe have a disability or those that are serving in the military.
Stop.
I think I can.
You're falling into their trap, though.
Yeah.
Giving it a free... It's worked. It has worked. You leave work. I mean, I'm not ripping you. I'm just saying we're falling into their trap by doing that when... You've voted for years.
May I interrupt you?
Yes, Johnny.
Look, it hasn't worked for a large part of the population.
That's the point I was trying to make.
Time.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with not letting everyone vote.
What?
If you tried
switched?
to vote, when didn't it work?
No,
it didn't work.
I'm asking
it didn't work in the South for 100 years, up until 30, 40 years ago. A black person couldn't vote.
To which we're all ashamed, and we attempt to remedy it.
But a black person can go vote
remedy?
from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the first Tuesday in November.
Wait, stop, Rook. John, are you suggesting that this is done on behalf of black people?
No,
Because
no,
what are you doing? Making them less than?
I'm saying, well, no, that's ridiculous. I'm saying, I don't know. Were we making them less than when we, wouldn't let them show up to vote?
Well,
are we making them less than in Georgia?
I had no part in that, and I think it's dreadful. I thought that was dreadful.
Last election, we had lines in Georgia that were 3 miles long. What are we doing there?
Why did we?
Because we closed.
You tell me.
We closed polling places, right, John? Didn't we close?
Well, they closed what? Yeah, 2/3 of the polling places in
Because I
Georgia,
remember
especially in black precincts.
I think I can create a summary statement.
I remember us discussing that.
I can create a summary statement that might simplify this discussion. At the very least, I would imagine we can all agree that the new voting bill the DFL passed with no Republican support, and that the governor will sign despite his claims that he would not, I think we can all agree this is another example of them being 5 steps ahead of everybody else. This is one of their tools in their toolbox. Yeah. They think of everything to retain and gain power. This is just another aspect of that movement.
A notch in the belt.
Yes.
Got it.
Now, Howard writes, you were debating the connection between issuing driver's licenses to all for the purposes of recruiting Democrat-leaning voters. During the discussion, you sidestepped into discussing the differences between Democrats and Republicans. Joe, I believe I'm paraphrasing you correctly. You said the Republicans sit back and wait to see how things turn out, while Democrats go to the Capitol, demonstrate, and raise hell until they get what they want. I'll accept that as a paraphrasing. If I may be so bold, I'd like to help you define what you are describing. There are specific terms that apply. Republicans sitting around and waiting is another way of saying that they believe the approved form, the current form of government, works and is effective. They believe the process works. That form of government is a constitutional republic or representative republic. In short, conservatives believe and trust, however naively, that elected representatives speak for their constituents and vigorously represent them.
Okay.
Conversely, Democrats demonstrating and raising hell at the Capitol indicates 2 things. One, they don't believe in a representative republic because they don't believe they're being adequately heard. They are taking things in their own hands through protest and demonstration. 2, if they don't believe they are heard in a representative republic and are acting accordingly, they want a different form of government. In effect, they are trying to make the country something that it is not, which is a true democracy. And we're not. We're a constitutional republic. The only logical result that can come out of a true democracy is protest, demonstration, and general turmoil. Why? Because true democracy is what, Rook?
True democracy is freedom.
True, no. What's another term for true democracy? And that term is majority rule or mob rule. The founders knew what they were doing. John Adams quipped, remember, democracy never lasts long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There never was a democracy yet that did not commit suicide. He realized precisely that people are pack animals and behave accordingly unless rules of decorum are applied to keep our darker angels in check. Those rules are being decimated by the left. He's nailing the mystery. And with intent and purpose to change this country into something the patriarchal white male founders never wanted it to be. And they didn't want it to be not because they were selfish or evil. They didn't want it to be because they knew the darker side of our angels. We've witnessed this before. History is rife with examples. The French Revolution, they ended up with Napoleon as an emperor. The Bolshevik Revolution, where Russia ended up with Lenin and then Stalin as dictators. The German Revolution, which led to Adolf Hitler. A third worrisome development is the statements that researchers are often... That's a different piece.
Oh.
For what it's worth, Howard. Thank you, Howard. I appreciate your letter, and I agree with you. Let's get back to something. The Democrats in this state play the political game better than the Republicans.
They're playing chess. Everyone else is playing checkers.
I think it was Brian Maturi who said the Republicans are playing preseason hockey. The Democrats are always playing in the playoffs.
Yep.
That's not a bad analogy.
It's not.
All right. But that's what's happening. Now, to rest my case, I know I'm a little stretched for time.
Yes.
But did you see what was in the Pioneer Press today? They can't pass these bills fast enough. In fact, maybe you had this in your news, John, or you have it in your news. The legislature will tap $650 million from the state's budget surplus to freeze tuition at Minnesota State Institution for the next 2 years and provide free college to some students.
I did not see
They're
that.
way ahead of the curve here, people.
Joe, that's so great. Everything's free.
House lawmakers approved a conference committee report Tuesday with a 69-62 vote along party lines. Now the Senate needs to okay the updated bill that was worked out over the last week by a bicameral panel of lawmakers from both chambers. Minnesotans deserve higher education that is affordable, accessible, and prepares them for the workforce of tomorrow. Representative Gene Pulowski, DFL Winona, the House Higher Education Committee chair, said in a statement, "There is no workforce of tomorrow with you people in charge."
What are these 18, 19-year-old, what have they gone through?
Pulowski added that it was only the second time the legislature provided funding to freeze tuition at state institutions at about $4.2 billion over the coming 2 years. The overall higher education spending increase is 19% more than current spending levels. Remember, they're taking it from a surplus that is a one-time that showed up. And we have to create it again then to pay for all this. And you very well aren't going to have a $17.8 billion purpose without tax rates that we can yet not even imagine.
Should be fun.
What are they going to do 2 years down the road?
That's what I'm saying. There is a greater need in higher education, and this balanced budget is an appropriate response to years of disinvestment. They always get you with that BS. Pulowski, you fraud. There's been no disinvestment in education. There might not have been the increases you wanted, Pulowski. Another Pollock from Winona,
What
huh?
are you sitting around at EB's corner, Pulowski?
Yeah. Pulowski, there's been no disinvestment. You're lying.
He is lying.
It comes at a time when state colleges and universities are weathering enrollment declines. Well,
we don't know.
They're
that.
weathering enrollment declines because they don't have the money, and plus these institutions are miserable at providing them with anything meaningful.
And I'm glad you mentioned that part because that's exactly what this is all about. The declining enrollment in all of the major universities in this state.
Wow.
This is just furthering the problem we've always had, the higher cost of education outpacing inflation by leaps and bounds, said Representative Peggy Scott, Republican Andover. This is irresponsible. Of course it is, Peggy.
So,
you're a Republican.
Check this out.
You're a Republican, and you are clinging to the quaint American notion of irresponsibility. Irresponsibility does not cross the mind of these socialists.
So check this out. You mean to tell me If I make $79,900 or less, all of my kids get to go to school for free.
Well, I'm getting there.
At least for 2 years.
The bill includes $75 million for the Minnesota State tuition freeze, plus an additional $50 million for those institutions in one-time money.
Oh, yeah.
There's no such thing.
Hold on.
We don't know that.
To help schools with budget deficits and to save jobs. The University of Minnesota would get $100 million in new funding to hold tuition increases to 3.5% on the main campus and in Rochester and 1% at other campuses. There's also a $10 million in one-time funding and $2 million in ongoing funding for the U to improve safety. Now, here you go. Students from families earning less than $80,000 annually could go to college free after state, federal aid and grants under the bill. American Indian students could also attend any 2 or 4 year state school free, and the state's 3 tribal colleges get $1 million per year funding bump. If I was the tribes, I'd be complaining. Why are they getting less funding than the other institutions?
Yep.
The higher education budget is just one piece of the next 2-year spending plan lawmakers need to approve before May 22. Democrats who have narrow control over both the House and Senate and the backing of Walz have put together a budget proposal that will increase state general fund spending by $18 billion to almost $72 billion over the coming biennium. Much of that money comes from the state's $17.5 billion budget surplus. But Democrats are also poised to levy new taxes to fund the ongoing expansion of services and programs. They're running amok. They're getting away with it because they can. They know how to play the game. They're relentless.
It's sick.
And there's nobody standing in their
every
way.
word you could apply to conventional America that GLers know, responsibility, for example, that's not even in their thinking. I never grew up thinking I was responsible for paying for my neighbor's child to go to school. Nor did I expect my neighbor to pay for my child. That's you know what that's become? Anachronistic. That's an antique American idea with these people. Yes,
There's
John.
a parallel story right now. I don't know if you saw it about housing assistance also. Mm-hmm. Everything you just said is exactly the same. And they're going to raise the Metro sales tax to help cover that because it's a one-time thing that lasts 2 years.
No,
but they insist. Yeah, well, that's what they say.
Right.
They insist it'll be fine. But it only lasts 2 years. So where are the funds going to come from in 2 years? Now, as you've put me in a position here where I sound like, I'm some left-wing idiot. But
it's crazy. He's got 3 eyes.
I have not put you in that position. You've done that on your own.
I'm just what Republicans need to do. We talk about the difference and what they need to do at every level. I don't know anybody who is in agreement with the way the legislature is working right now and spending money. I have friends who are Democrats, Republicans, independents, everything. So the Republicans need to, in a grassroots way, just hit this as hard as possible. And
John,
what do they need to change? Change legislature.
That's all well and good, but the problem is it's going to take a long time. And I told this to Joe before the show, before you guys got in. We're going to see damage that's going to be unrecognizable here in the next coming years.
Well, but we need to shift at least one legislative branch.
A Republican in this state stands up and says it should not be your neighbor's responsibility to educate your child. The Marxists and socialists would have 100 ways to put that person down.
Yep.
Well, Peggy Scott, who you quoted there, is my
she is saying
great.
She is saying something American. And the people that don't like America will shoot her down 100 different ways.
Well, everybody here
you're privileged. You're white.
Everybody here loves her. She's
good. I'm happy, and we need more. We need more of her.
She's a former second sword.
Just for everybody who thinks I'm a left-wing lunatic, I voted for Peggy Scott.
I don't think you're a left-wing lunatic. I don't think you are. Lunatic, but
I don't care.
Yeah.
Lunatic, but.
I think you've gone over your allotted time.
Well, I mean,
have we taken a break?
Let's come back with Johnny.
Okay, thank you very much.
Using Seafoam motor treatment in your fuel gives you one less thing to worry about this summer. A lot of people might not realize that most preventable engine problems start right in the fuel system. Seafoam cleans harmful gum and varnish from the entire fuel system. That helps your engine run better, start faster, and last a lot longer. Seafoam works that same magic on all of your engines, no matter what kind it is. Seafoam is the ticket. You can find it everywhere, and the true believers, we keep an extra can in the car. Truly a wonderful product in a world of bad gas. Seafoam.
I don't have any meetings. Do you, Chris?
Well, you
live a boring life.
live in North Dakota.
How about a liner there, boss?
Why don't you go to Pappy's?
How about a liner?
Yeah, who's got something here?
What is it? Is it Pappy's?
Yeah, Pappy's.
Damn, it's a good
Hey,
club.
GLers, we're just going to start including everybody.
Justice and the suture.
How about a nice, cool glass of water, Joe?
Cool, clear water?
Oh,
That's what
man.
Bob needs. That's what Bob needs.
Bob
No
needs
more
some
Dr. Pepper.
water from Hofferman and Connecticut. I'm such a snob these days. I don't drink anything that doesn't come from home. Right here, look at this in my pink water bottle.
We got a pencil problem.
Hofferman Water is an independent water treatment dealer, and they are so proud to sponsor the Garage Logic podcast. Thank you to all of you GLers that have made the call and made the switch. I've been a customer of Hofferman and Connecticut for years and extremely happy, and I know that you will be too. So here's the deal. Call them today to have someone come out and give you that water analysis right at your home. 952-894-4040. That's 952-894-4040. Or go to their website, HoffermanWater.com. You go on their website, and you can see every option that they have on their website. It could be a brand new water softener, maybe a drinking water system, whatever you are looking for, they will take care of you. They have been proudly serving the state of Minnesota for over 50 years. Hofferman Water is the best. Please let them know that you heard about them here on the Garage Logic podcast.
Do you drink water every day?
Here's John Heidt with the news.
Wow. What the hell was that? Well, anyway, thanks, Chris.
You're welcome, John.
This news update is brought to you by the good people at ProfessionalTurf.com. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara said at a neighborhood association safety meeting last night, a beefed-up police presence will be seen in the Dinkytown area moving forward. As of last Thursday night, continuing over the weekend, Minneapolis police recorded 12 incidents in Dinkytown that ended with 8 citations and 2 arrests over 3 nights. The majority of those arrested were juveniles. Chief O'Hara said one juvenile was actually arrested all 3 nights. First night for disorderly conduct, second night charged with riot, and the third night attempted auto theft, which begs the question. Go ahead, fellas.
What the hell?
But I do love how Mayor Fry did say, and I tweeted about this, saying, this will not be tolerated. Jakey, this guy was arrested 3 straight nights and just basically, I think they actually escorted him out to his car just to make sure he got there okay.
Minneapolis is setting itself up for calamity with this taste of Minnesota.
Do you like, by the way,
on the 4th of July?
The Dinkytown public hearing that they had, the safety meeting? Yeah. You were allowed to attend, but you were not allowed to speak.
I wonder why that was.
Well, they knew what would happen if they let people have a microphone. Are you kidding me?
I see.
Police received multiple reports of a large group of about 50 people disturbing the peace. At one point, a woman was assaulted by 4 people. The police department is teaming up with the campus police to tackle the issue with plans to increase police presence this weekend. The chief also said he has asked for help from the Minnesota State Patrol. In that meeting hosted last night by the Marcy Holmes Neighborhood Association, Minneapolis Community Safety Commissioner Cedric Alexander said violence interrupters would also be more visible in Dinkytown.
Basically, this summer, good luck to you, Minneapolis.
Well, I'm rooting for the best, but I think back to last 4th of July, it was chaos, and now you're going to have even more of a temptation for chaos because of this large event downtown. I hope it goes smoothly.
I also feel really, really bad for the Twins. I think they're only averaging about 18 right now. I know the weather's been lousy. I get that, but... boy.
Last night they only had 17, and it was gorgeous. And they were playing the Padres.
Well, and John and I discussed this, Joe. They have the Cubs in town this weekend.
I know.
And none of the games are sold out.
Well, but they'll get good crowds, and the weather's supposed to be good.
You want to bet on that?
Got the Mother's Day, take Ma.
Take Ma and let her get carjacked.
Oh, that's right. It's Mother's Day.
No, you're not helping the Twins with that BS.
Sorry, St. Pete.
Jeez.
She ain't my mother.
Yeah, I talked to a guy yesterday. He couldn't play golf Sunday because it's Mother's Day. I said, she's not your mother. The hell with it.
Minnesota State Patrol has shared its plan to combat street racing, speeding, and other dangerous driving behaviors ahead of the summer months. State troopers and representatives from other law enforcement agencies said Tuesday that multiple agencies will be working together again through the summer, both on the ground and in the air, to break up street racing gatherings and make sure drivers are following the law. Since law enforcement officials began work to crack down on street racing, the State Patrol says it's seen fewer gatherings, although those that remain have become more aggressive and dangerous. Since March 1st of this year, State Patrol says law enforcement agencies have made 365 street racing stops, resulting in 460 citations, 20 arrests, and another 10 intoxicated driving arrests.
These are morons. Are they factoring in the fact that they can't afford to keep buying new tires?
Hey, Joe.
Tires are expensive, as Pat discovered.
The tire department.
He didn't know that tires played a crucial role in the automotive experience.
Crucial role.
It doesn't bounce
I was
anymore.
bouncing around, but I got new tires. The bounce went away.
Gentlemen, just because I mentioned this, I just looked this up. Do you realize that Oakland is barely averaging 10,000 fans a game?
I'm surprised it's that many.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't get many.
Wow.
They're going to Vegas.
Yep.
I find that disheartening, but what can I do about it? I can't warm up to teams that play in Vegas.
Is it just the gambling aspect?
It's so hedonistic there, and the gambling and everything else. I have no interest in.
Oh, I still love it.
I applaud the way the Golden Knights have put together one hell of a hockey team, but I just can't get interested.
Okay.
Murder charges in adult court have been filed against a boy who was 15 years old when he drove behind a motorist heading home from a St. Paul grocery store and allegedly shot her in the head at random. Melvin D. Williams is now 16. He was certified in Ramsey County District Court for prosecution as an adult this week on charges of second-degree intentional and drive-by murder in connection with the shooting of 34-year-old Julia Lee on February 16th of 2022. Williams of St. Paul was arrested soon after the shooting and charged initially by what is called a juvenile petition. A murder conviction in adult court would mean a far more severe sentence for Williams. He remains in custody in Ramsey County in lieu of $500,000 bail. Police have said it appears Lee was targeted at random and did nothing to provoke being shot. According to the complaint, she had been heading home from a grocery store where she bought food for a dinner party. Williams' car was behind her SUV and moved closer as she waited to turn left from northbound Payne onto Cook Avenue. As she started her turn, a muzzle flash from the driver's side of the car was captured on video. Williams then sped north on Payne and entered his home in the 12,000 block.
Just casually enters his home?
This town is broken. St. Paul is broken.
Wow.
It's because Rookett was most likely some type of...
Did she die?
Yes. That's why there was a murder charge.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But go ahead, Johnny. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say he was first arrested and incarcerated in Hennepin County, where he's been accused of crimes there as well. Now, because of his age at the time, state law prevents disclosure of what those crimes are.
I'd like to know if he might have been involved in the St. Anthony shooting. Someone that remorseless, that soulless, and quick to shoot. That's who you're looking for at the St. Anthony.
Would he have been in custody,
He's been in jail.
Oh,
yeah,
never
that's what I
mind.
thought.
Oh,
yeah.
This was most likely, Rook, to answer your question, of some type of gang initiation, the randomness of such an act.
What are you, a sheriff?
I know things.
Okay.
Prince now...
Go ahead, John.
Prince now is a highway in Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz using purple ink. Get it? Purple ink.
He'll sign anything you put in front
I
of him.
think Joe's a big fan. He's got the purple on today.
Yeah.
To sign the bill dedicating Minnesota Highway 5 as the Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway. Purple road signs will soon go up along the highway declaring the new name, paid for by Prince's friends and fans. The Senate approved the legislation 55-5 last week. It was sent to the governor's desk. It had passed the House unanimously last month on the 7th anniversary of Prince's death. Prince died from an accidental fentanyl overdose at the age of 57.
His sister, trying to give some weight to the name change for the highway, said that every time Prince completed a song, he would get in his car and drive up and down the highway to listen to it. And the only thing that I took from that is I wanted to know what kind of car A, I don't believe her story, but she was trying to be helpful for the name change. But B, if he did do that, I want to know what car. Was he a car guy, I wonder?
Or maybe he had something very plain to blend in with everybody.
Maybe.
Motorcycle. He had the cool motorcycle.
That was for the movie only. I don't think he rode a bike.
Oh.
I can say, having a fella in my family who produces stuff, the first thing he does is go to his car and listen to it. First thing he does. As soon as he's done mixing, he mixes, masters it, goes, listens in the car. Wants to know what it sounds like.
Well, we should name a street after him there in front of your house.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just rename your driveway.
Fred Street.
The Minnesota Twins have announced the headliners for their post-game concert series this summer. Last year, they had Cole Swindell, a country singer. This year, they've scheduled hip-hop and R&B star T-Pain.
Yeah, T-Pain!
As well as country music singer-songwriter Carly Pierce to play after games this summer. T-Pain will be there June 15th after a game against the Tigers, and Pierce will play Thursday, August 24th, a game after the Texas Rangers. Both artists will play full 75-minute sets with their concert scheduled to begin about 20 minutes after that night's Twins game.
Well, and that won't even be that bad given the pace that baseball is being played. You'll hear music by 10 o'clock.
Hey, road trip. Murray County, car show. You and I go to T-Pain.
I'm not going to T-Pain.
Let's go to T-Pain.
No, I have a thing that night.
Although I approve of Carly Pierce. She's cute. I'm all in favor of that
Will be cute, has nothing to do with music, Chris. We will have more news after this from Chris Reaver. No, this is from Rook. I'm sorry.
Let me do this one.
Sorry,
and that's okay, Johnny Cake. It's okay. Yeah, you can time me on this one, bro. I want to tell you about the Minnesota Masonic Charities. And again, I read this letter a couple days ago, and I'm going to read the edited version today for you because this is the first Selfless Scholar recipient letter. And the objective of this is to uncover stories of kindness that would otherwise go untold. This comes from a student at St. Cloud Cathedral. My name is Maya Walls, but this story of kindness is actually about my sister Kira and her awesome experience with Allison Schneider at a dance camp. My sister has Down syndrome and loves to dance. Naturally, when Cathedral Dance Team was offering a dance camp for kids, my family thought she needed to go. We knew she would be excited to participate, but she would need a helper to keep her engaged and help her with daily activities. Kira was so blessed to have Allison as her helper for the 2 days. There was nobody else could have been so compassionate and energetic as Allison. She keeps a positive attitude wherever she goes. And we had no worries sending Kira to the camp because Allison is so good. Part of the camp is also a performance. Allison stood next to her the whole time, helping her participate to the fullest. Kira still does the dances and talks about it months later. That is greatly credited to Allison. Sometimes people are hesitant to be responsible for Kira, but Allison was excited. She even signed up to help her. Her positivity was a blessing. Allison is very helpful, and she pulls her weight when it's necessary, and she does it with a smile. She is very deserving of this scholarship. That sounds like a winner to me. mnmasoniccharities.org to find out more.
It's true. Some of us GLers fairly obsessive about our lawns. If you want the best lawn on the block, you've got to go with ProfessionalTurf.com, a Minnesota lawn care company since 1982. ProTurf has service techs with over 20 years of, I almost said 70, 20 years of experience that have been servicing the same route. So they get to know your lawn. When I lived in South Minneapolis, I got to tell you, my lawn was ProTurf's problem, but ProTurf has this really cool toot sweet policy, meaning if you see something janky on your lawn in the middle of the season, get a hold of them and they'll be out toot sweet and they'll take care of that. They'll rectify it for you. That's what they do. Schedule a free in-person lawn care analysis and estimate right now at ProfessionalTurf.com. A ProTurf tech will come out once the snow has melted and then customize a slow-release fertilizer and weed control program. Safe and environmentally guaranteed. You'll get a great lawn. Just click away, ProfessionalTurf.com.
Not a Garage Logic Town Council member? Here's what you're missing.
They texted me, did you make this? No, I did not make it. Okay, they shut the account down. Yesterday, I talked to the lady, and she said, tell me what one of your last purchases was.
Oh, God.
$1.61 at Sam's Club. I got the hot
You went into Sam's Club for
You use plastic to buy a
$1.61?
bleeping hot dog.
Bleeping hot dog.
It's people like you that are ruining the world. You got to stand in line between this idiot who has to get his card out to get a hot dog.
I started scrolling down and I did get embarrassed. I'm like, it was $1.61 at Sam's. I got the hot dog.
Rolled
Don't
meat
you
log.
keep $2 on you?
I must not have had any money.
So you parked at Sam's, walked into that giant warehouse, and bought a rolling meat log, and that's it.
It's not an overstated meal for $1.61. It's
What do you get with it?
the fixins.
The fixins.
Go behind the scenes of Garage Logic with unfiltered audio and video access, invites to exclusive events, an emailed newsletter from the mayor himself, and more by signing up at garagelogic.com.
Oh,
Okay.
You cannot stop him. He'll just make a move. Joe Souchere.
John, you're up.
Hi.
Hi.
In national news, Representative George Santos, freshman Republican congressman whose falsehoods became both a scandal and a national punchline, was charged this morning with a host of financial crimes in court. The 34-year-old Santos surrendered to federal authorities and is expected to appear in a federal courthouse later this afternoon. Santos stands accused of deceiving prospective donors to his campaign and defrauding the state of New York, as well as making false statements to the House Committee on Ethics. He faces 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of lying to the House of Representatives on his financial forms. Details of his dealings with would-be donors and false statements on his ethics disclosures have been revealed in earlier reporting, but this indictment includes previously unknown accusations about a scheme to unlawfully obtain unemployment benefits. According to prosecutors, he falsely claimed to have been unemployed in the summer of 2020. However, he received $24,000 from the state and during that time was employed as a regional director for a Florida investment firm. Writer E. Jean Carroll awarded $5 million yesterday by a Manhattan jury that found former President Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming her while clearing him of a rape claim. The 79-year-old Carroll held her head down as the verdict was read and nodded when she heard the jury finding in favor of her defamation claim. For Trump, 76, branded her a liar when she came forward with her allegations. The decision came after 8 days of trial spread over 3 weeks, where the jury heard from 11 witnesses, including Carroll, 2 other Trump accusers, and 2 pals whom Carroll had confided in about the alleged attack. Trump did not attend the trial, but the jury saw clips of his video deposition. He also didn't call any witnesses or present any evidence. Meanwhile, tonight is the night of Trump's town hall meeting on CNN. For his part, the former president admitted his upcoming town hall could, quote, turn into a disaster for all, including me, but he said the network, quote, made me a deal I couldn't refuse. The 2024 Republican presidential frontrunner touted his return to CNN with a post on a social media platform. Couldn't resist taking a shot at the news channel because of their ratings. He said, I'll be doing CNN tomorrow night live from the great state of New Hampshire because they are rightfully desperate to get those fantastic Trump ratings once again.
Wow.
Her town hall will be moderated by CNN This Morning co-host Caitlin Collins. 7 o'clock our time.
I think I'll miss it.
Can the
I
FCC
You telling
chime
me
in?
they paid him to do this?
Oh,
It
yeah.
sounds like it, huh? Yeah, which is
Well,
yeah.
okay, there's a lot to unpack here, but CNN's brilliant for doing so because it's going to be a ratings bonanza for them.
Probably.
And as much as arrogant as it sounded, he's right, Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You monitor that for the show purposes, for our show.
Do I?
I can't monitor it.
Okay.
It'll be tremendous.
Consumer prices in the U.S. Rose again in April, and a measure of underlying inflation stayed high, a sign that further declines in inflation probably will come, but they're likely to be slow and bumpy. Prices increased 0.4% from March to April, the government said, up sharply from the 0.1 rise from February to March. The only positive here, they said, was compared with a year earlier, prices climbed 4.9%, down from last March's year-over-year increase. It was the smallest annual increase in 2 years.
Breaking news, because I believe I have your permission to do so when it occurs.
Mm-hmm.
We have breaking audio from Hank Johnson.
Really?
Oh, God.
Yes. Because it's come up, Joe, that tomorrow will be a chaotic day at the border.
Right.
Because of the COVID restrictions that are going to be lifted.
Title 42.
Hank Johnson had some comments about illegal immigrants crossing the border.
All right.
This is courtesy of Glenn Beck's Twitter account, The Blaze.
I see.
To create crisis at the border so that people come here and they are always subject to being illegal workers. And we need to do something about that in this country. Those folk who are coming across are the ones who are helping to put food on our table. Without them, we're not able to eat. If you turn them away, if all of them were turned away, and then this legislation passed, making it easier to get at people who are already here legally, and you have no immigration, then we would have no food on our plates. We would have nobody taking care of the building, the construction of our homes. We would have nobody cleaning up in the hospitals. Honest work that deserves an honest day's pay. That's the kind of system that we need to have in this country. Immigration is important. Mm-hmm. And my friends on the other side of the aisle want to pretend that they want to close this border.
Yeah. Thanks, Hank.
Wow.
Yeah. The first person I ever heard say that, though, pretty much what he just said was Tony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Who said you will never have a good meal at a restaurant again if you crack down on
Did he really?
Immigration. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Said, everybody who works in all the restaurants in New York, he said, the good workers, he said, are mostly illegal immigrants who came here to try to become citizens and had to sneak in. I think that's what Hank said, but he didn't say anything about restaurants. He made it sound like
Tony had a little more street creds than
Hank made it sound like farm workers.
Right.
Exactly, just anybody that roams in. Yeah. So,
what about the balloons or the islands and stuff?
They tip over.
Yep.
I thought he was going to say Texas might tip over or something.
Too many people running across.
Speaking of Texas, despite all sorts of goofy conspiracy theories appearing, Texas officials this morning held a press conference to tell folks that the gunman who killed 8 people at that Texas shopping mall last weekend had neo-Nazi ideation, but he targeted people at random. Police said the 33-year-old suspect appeared to have chosen his victims with no regard to race or sex. The Public Safety Regional Director, Hank Sibley, said, "We do know he had neo-Nazi ideation. He had Nazi patches. He had Nazi tattoos. Visible during the attack, a clothing patch the killer wore with the letters RWDS, Right-Wing Death Squad. The big question," Sibley said, "is what we don't know what we're dealing with, what the motive was that he did, why he did the shooting. Folks with right-wing ideology have been casting aspersions on the idea that Garcia had Nazi leanings, say it was a false flag or a psyop, among many doubting the official line were Donald Trump Jr., Twitter owner Elon Musk, in a series of posts on Twitter."
You mentioned the word ideation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm unfamiliar with that.
That is a direct quote from them. That's why I used that word.
Is that even a word? Ideation, as opposed to ideology? No, whatever. It's not important.
I do not know. We haven't had one of these in a while, but here you go. A teenage boy is facing numerous charges in Nashville after allegedly stealing a bus from KIPP Nashville schools, driving recklessly through West Nashville, leading police on a pursuit along Interstate 40 this past Saturday. According to the Metro Nashville Police Department, the 14-year-old took the school bus from the Kipp College Prep on Murfreesboro Pike on Saturday, May 6th. Just before 4 in the afternoon, the boy hit the diesel fuel pump at Casey's Market on Sentinel Boulevard. In addition, the teenager then reportedly tried to run over a person at the market. After that, authorities said the 14-year-old drove onto the parkway and into I-40 West, hitting a car in the process. According to police, they had to follow the bus on the interstate. It was driving up to 65 miles an hour. They eventually deployed a spike strip near the McCrory Lane exit, but the teen driver saw it, slowed the bus down, and tried to turn in the middle of the highway. At that point, authorities said they ran up to the bus, broke the glass on the door, used a taser on the boy, and arrested him without incident. He was booked into juvenile court for vehicle theft, aggravated assault, evading arrest, reckless driving, driving without a license, leaving the scene of a crash, and failure to report. a crash.
Do you know what his last act was before he was tased?
What?
Hmm.
Oh, come on.
You know, this kid was just a thug, and I'm not going to cut him any slack. But do you recall the story of the kid who stole a city bus in Miami?
Yes.
Yep.
Years ago, and he even dressed up. He had the white
He had
shirt
the
and tie
uniform.
on, and
Yep.
he stopped at every stop. And I was rooting for that kid to get a gig as a bus driver. He was like Bussy, like Brother Bussy.
He
loved
didn't drive
buses.
a bus, but if he did,
he'd be legal about it.
That was one of the funniest scenes on.
Don't mention some stupid movie.
I'm not going to Seinfeld. It was Seinfeld when Kramer was forced to drive the bus.
Yes.
And it was on fire or something like that. And you kept making the stops. Well, they kept ringing the bell. Ideation is the activity of forming ideas in the mind.
It's a bunch of it's one of those bleep you words.
Yeah, I would never use ideation.
John, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. You probably weren't done.
I was done.
we are now.
That was my kicker there, you know.
DK Mags has a full stock of the best, the latest, and most modern firearms and ammunition in stock. DK Mags can also take special orders on specialty items, or those hard-to-source items. You know what I mean. Hop on the website, dkmags.com, start shopping. But if you don't see it on the website, you've got to call in or stop into the shop on Old 8 in New Brighton. They've got a really good on-site gunsmith staff and solid outside resources for those really difficult gunsmithing issues. And they have the buying power of a much larger business. But when you stroll in, it's a small-town local feel, and that's one of the reasons I love them. You'll love them if you're new to firearms and considering your first purchase. That's the place to go. That's where I went. The staff, very accommodating. Fair pricing, quality firearms, and a great staff at DK Mags. Old 8 in New Brighton, and on the web, dkmags.com.
Is that his cylinder index or his golf score? Either way, it's a big number. Here's Joe Souchere.
Yeah, I was wondering if I could time in the town.
Yeah.
Only because they come to us all the way from Fernandina, the Villages, Florida.
Did we look that up?
I know about the Villages. That's supposed to be a real swinging place for people in their 60s.
Hey, now.
If you know what I'm
Okay,
saying.
that sounded really creepy, Joe. Come on.
Actually, it's for people, a real swinging place for people in their 60s and 70s.
Just throw your keys right in the bowl.
Right.
That's what they do. I'm telling you, it's a wild situation down there. It's
Is that why the Lyman's decided?
you know, I don't know why the
Park it
Lyman's
for a
are
day?
there.
Oh,
You know,
we're
they
going
got-
to get an email.
I mean, there's a lot of guys wandering into houses, and, you know.
Hey, I need some sugar.
Hey, where are my keys? Katie, where are my keys?
I could be wrong, but I think the Villages has a reputation for the the swinging lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Yeah.
How would you know that? Were you informed of this?
I read. I read these things.
I couldn't
Wish I had
believe
a-
my luck.
Wish I had a Wawa pedal. It's hard.
On this day,
Pizza.
in
I didn't order
1823,
sausage.
the Virginia was the first steamboat to reach Fort St. Anthony, having made the 729-mile trip from St. Louis in 20 days. Among the Virginia's passengers was Italian adventurer Giacomo C. Beltrami. And I bet that's where we get Beltrami County.
Love that.
Yep.
Becker, Beltrami, Big Stone, Blue Earth, and Brown are your B counties.
Yeah.
On this day in 1827,
510.
William Wyndham was born in Belmont City, Ohio. He settled in Winona in 1855, represented the U.S. Congress as both a congressman and a senator, would be Secretary of the Treasury under Presidents James Garfield and Benjamin Harrison. His likeness appeared on the 1891 $2 bill, and Wyndham in Cottonwood County is named for him. He died in 1891. Carlton, Carver, Cass, Chippewa, Chisago, Clay, Clearwater, Cook, Crow Wing, and Clearwater, Cook, and Crow Wing are your
But why,
sea
if he
counties.
settled in Winona, did Wyndham name him?
On this day in 1902,
Got her.
This day,
May 10th, Joe.
the St. Paul Saints minor league ball club beat the Indianapolis Indians 4-0 in the first American Association game at Lexington Park.
Neat.
On this day, in 1941, Charles Lindbergh was the featured speaker at a large America First rally in Minneapolis. The America First Committee promoted U.S. isolationism during the years leading up to World War II. Lindbergh's anti-war activity reduced his stature in many people's eyes. But after the war was declared, he dedicated himself to the battle for victory, flying 50 missions in the Pacific.
Wow.
Trying to repair his image.
Yeah, guess so. Build her back up.
On this day in 1993,
Joe, I believe today is May 10th.
Kiowa elder Ralph Ware Jr., who played an instrumental role in creating the Heart of the Earth Survival School, died in Oklahoma. Founded in 1972, the school at the Center for American Indian Education in Minneapolis was one of the nation's first alternative schools for Native Americans. And finally, on this day in 2000,
it's a long one today.
Yeah, that's stuff.
St. Augusta Township in rural Stearns County became the city of Ventura as 5 new city officials took the oath of office to serve the community, which was named for Governor Jesse Ventura as part of a political strategy to prevent annexation attempts by St. Cloud. The former township clerk commented, "We are about to form the newest city in the state of Minnesota." In November, voters voted overwhelmingly to choose to change the city's name from Ventura to St. Augusta. So
Interesting.
All right, everybody. Who is this St. Augusta anyway?
But it doesn't say whether that prevented them from being annexed by St. Cloud. I suspect they did, because they went from a township to the city of St. Augusta.
You name a city after me, you got to pay.
Yeah, I love that you have that hanging on your fence, but you want to remain anonymous.
We don't call 911.
Thank you, GLers.
Proud to be celebrating 52 years as a family-owned and operated multi-line dealer, Moon Motorsports offers motorcycles to ATVs, side-by-sides to snowmobiles, with the largest inventory in the region, featuring 11 brands: Honda, Polaris, Yamaha, Can-Am, KTM, Husqvarna, Gas, BMW, Triumph, Ducati, and Skidoo. Stop by our large dealership off 94 in Monticello and tell our Powersports outfitters about your riding needs. We want to get you ride ready. MoonMotorsports.com.
GLers, do us a favor and hit the old subscribe button right there on that Garage Logic YouTube channel, because there we are posting daily content for your amusement. And you can also follow us along on all of our social media channels. That includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let me see. Oh, the Garage Logic Town Council. Yes. For just, why did I sound like Josh? Yes, for $10 a month or for $100 a year, you can get all sorts of unlimited access to Garage Logic behind-the-scene footage, in-between segment content, and more. Just find out more by going online right now to GarageLogic.com. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.